Voting works. It's real. As much as we thought they had it rigged, as much as we thought there was shenanigans and it's just a puppet show and there's no way anybody could buck the system, turns out voting is still real.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to part 2 of this Kyle Kulinski, Joe Rogan episode. In the first one, Kyle Kulinski gets into a little bit of a lather about what he perceives as Joe Rogan's hypocrisy over lying, and that being a disqualifying trait in this presidential election. He's a little bit rich, but I want to hear what your thoughts are in the comments as we go through this video. I'm a fan of Kyle Kulinski's. I admire the fact that he gets so worked up about it, but there's a lot to pick apart here, including some footage from Joe Rogan's previous episodes where he was a much more progressive thinking, even a democratic socialist thinking voice, and had Bernie Sanders on and everything. But anyway, enough from me. Let's take a look at the clips and we'll chop it up.
Voting is still real.
So when Trump lies to his face for 3 hours, it's ha 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 he he. Turns out voting is real. But when Kamala and Biden lie and Democrats lie and the media lies, like, oh, actually Joe Biden's okay. He's not too old. His brain is still functioning. That's unacceptable, and that goes too far. This is the double standard. Hey, Joe, if you had done research and prep for your interview with Trump, you would have found out that there were 30,573, I believe is the exact number, of lies that Trump told during his first term.
Right, but again, Kyle Kulinski is falling into this trap a little bit of holding this dialogue to journalistic standards or even just rational standards, right? The point is not whether or not what they're saying tracks and makes literal factual sense. That is not the point. It is emotional manipulation. And we've just seen in this election how effective it is, right? And one of the things that I keep doing that people on the left keep doing is debating with these voices as though it's in good faith, as though, we do our research, we show up at the table with facts and figures and details, and they show up at the table with they're eating dogs and Jesus doesn't want it and it's just like the Canaanites and, a bunch of triggering flim-flam, this word salad of confusionation that leaves us going, whoa, wait, whoa, that doesn't, what do you, blah, 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 blah. And that's exactly the state they want to put the audience into, right? It makes us look like we don't know what we're talking about. And then they can kind of smugly be like, see, they're idiots. There's no plan. They just don't want America to be great again. And what we need to figure out here, folks, is we need to figure out in this digital age with all of our social media and our bubbles that we're in. I mean, I'm talking to you from one such bubble, so we're in these little silos, these little bubbles. We need to figure out a way forward where we can cut through these divisions that we have found ourselves in. And, technology is not going away. I don't know how to do that yet. I think part of me doing this is a quest for finding some of those tactics and answers. I would love you to put in the comments your thoughts on any and all of this, because, one of the silver linings of this loss is that we are going to have to organize. We're going to have to get clear. It's tempting to sit with our head in our hands and say, oh, well, I guess that's just it forever now. No. We still have family. We still have loved ones. We have communities, right? We can't let America turn into Gilead, even though it may get darker before it gets light. This can be saved, right? America is made up of people, right? And these leaders are just the folks that we have put in charge. They don't have to stay in charge. It may be harder to get them out of power now. We'll see. It certainly is on track for that, but I don't, there's only so much doom and gloom I can marinate in. You know, in the meantime, a little sense of outrage here, like Kyle Kulinski is offering us, feels good. So let's hear him out.
Even if you want to say the liberal media skewed those numbers and they counted things as lies that weren't lies. Okay, cut it in half. Cut it in more than half. 15,000 lies Trump told his time in office, which makes him probably one of the most prolific liars that's ever sat in the White House. Put him right up there with George W. Bush lying us into the Iraq War. 15,000 lies. Apparently that wasn't a bridge too far. Apparently Rogan's issue is not, I just can't, for a liar, I can't vote for a liar. Guys, one of the things Trump said to Rogan's face is, Trump was like, I didn't say lock her up. When the people would say lock her up, I'd say, whoa, hold on.
It's not a great Trump impersonation.
Trump said this to Rogan's face. That lock her up, bro, lock her up. I don't lock her up. I don't believe in lock her up. I don't know what you're talking about, bro. Here's a compilation of Trump saying lock her up.
You should lock her up, I'll tell you.
One more time.
You should lock her up, I'll tell you.
I never said lock her up. I never said lock her up. They would say lock her up. I'd say, oh, hold on.
Lock up the Bidens. Lock up Hillary.
Lock up Hillary. I never said lock her up. Quote, lock up Hillary.
Lock 'em up, yeah, lock 'em up.
Lock 'em up. Yeah, lock 'em up. One more time. Here we go.
You should lock her up, I'll tell you.
Lock up the Bidens. Lock up Hillary.
Lock 'em up, yeah, lock 'em up.
You think Rogan doesn't know that Trump literally one of the things he ran on was lock her up? You think he doesn't know that? So when Trump says to his face, I didn't say lock her up, and Rogan doesn't pounce on that, maybe he just has a double standard. Maybe he doesn't care as much about the truth as he's pretending to care about here. Because he's laughing. Tee-hee, Trump. Turns out voting works. Turns out Trump is completely and utterly full of shit. Yeah, Joe. You know, and if you bothered to read through any of the indictments before you sat across from Trump and played patty cake with him, you would have learned a thing or two. You would have learned about the charges against Trump. Conspiracy to defraud the United States. Conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. Conspiracy against rights, which is basically throwing out the idea of one person, one vote, getting rid of people's votes because Trump wants to override the results of the election. If he bothered to do any research before talking to Trump and actually internalize these things, he would have known even Donald Trump knows the election wasn't stolen from him. This is according to his own words. In the indictment, you learn that he acknowledged to one of his co-conspirators that the rigged election claims were, quote, crazy. He thought Sidney Powell, who was leading the charge, was crazy.
Jeez.
When Trump tried to get Pence to not accept the results of the election, Trump said to Pence directly, "You're too honest, Mike." In other words, I know that Pence is telling the truth, and I'm telling him, don't be so honest. So lie for me. Lie for me. They tried to open up sham election crime investigations. Trump tried to force the Justice Department to send letters to states fraudulently saying that they identified significant concerns that may have impacted the outcome of the election. They internally described their plan as the fraudulent elector memo and fraudulent elector instructions. The list goes on and on here. Some of the people who did the fake elector slates were literally found guilty. So they have to suffer the consequences, but Trump gets away with it. And you sat across from him and did fucking nothing. And let him lie relentlessly to your audience. And now you're pretending after the fact like, oh, the Democrats are such egregious liars, bro. And by the way, what ended up happening with Biden? He dropped out. He cleared the way. He did the thing that all the Republicans were saying he should do. Hey, drop out. Your brain doesn't work anymore. Then he does it, and then it's still, bro, but they lied to us. Why are their lies not okay, but Trump's lies, their lies are not okay, but Trump's lies are okay? They're fine. You don't even push back on them. So just to remind you, this is the guy Joe Rogan was. You ready for this?
I really believe if Michelle Obama runs, she wins.
She's good.
She's great. She's the wife of the best president that we have had in our lifetime. I've never voted right wing in my life. I consider universal basic income a really good idea. I want free college education.
Take it easy.
Hello, Bernie.
How are you, Joe?
Wonderful. Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I like Tulsi and I like Bernie. That's it.
Oh, yeah?
Everybody else can eat.
Look at you. Progressive.
Yeah. I think I'll probably vote for Bernie. I think he's looking out for the interests of the working people. And I think he wants people to have a better life and do better. And I'm all for that. And if that means I have to pay more in tax, like people think, oh, you're a socialist. I've heard people say that. Oh, you're socialist, bro. Like, first of all, he's not even a socialist. He's a democratic socialist. It's a different thing. I would like to spend more in taxes if they could fix inner city communities and take these poor neighborhoods and throw a fuckload. 87% of scientists said that human activity is driving global warming. I'm very pro-choice. I'm very women's rights, civil rights, gay rights, trans rights. I'm even universal health care. Obviously, this protected status is driving me crazy. This thing that Trump's doing with children that were born in other countries and then brought over here as children, and then they're talking about deporting them. You know Alonzo? No, I was a funny comedian. Yeah. He goes, not all Donald Trump supporters are racist, but all racists are Donald Trump supporters.
He definitely awakened that side.
But the January 6th thing is important.
See, it is important,
And
but
it's-
is it the 6 months later? Should be the ruling number one conversation of the journalists?
I think it's really important. And one of the reasons why I think it's important, because it highlights the reasons why a guy like Donald Trump is f***ing dangerous, is because a guy can incite a bunch of morons to do something really stupid. But as far as trans people, some trans people listening to this, I got nothing but love for you, for everybody. And in fact, Eddie Izzard is one of my all-time favorite guests.
Oh, I love Izzard.
The right-wing thing is just an easy way to dismiss me, because I'm not right-wing. I can't recommend your book, Race Matters, enough.
Dave Smith was also just on his show and he was saying, like, Trump needs to understand now it's time to actually make a change and we don't want any of these wars and we don't want any of these neocons in government and he needs to understand that. And oh, would you look at that? Would you look at that? Trump already picked Brian Hook to run the State Department's transition team. That guy's a neocon warmonger. He wants war with Iran. He wants Bill Hagerty as Secretary of State. This is a guy who's a warmonger. He wants to stand up to China, and he wants to stand with Israel as they committed genocide in Gaza. He also is already planning his business-friendly agenda of tax cuts and deregulation. He wants to his top ranks will be filled with billionaires, former CEOs, tech leaders, and loyalists. And then, of course, we have Trump already offered the job of U.S. ambassador to the UN to Elise Stefanik, who called for unrestricted U.S. aid to Israel. And she led a smear campaign against pro-Palestine college students, calling them anti-Semites, basically comparing them to Nazis, trying to get them censored and banned, trying to get university professors and leaders who defended the First Amendment rights of these kids to be fired. Now, is he going to come out and talk about this? Is he going to say, I was duped, I was wrong? Trump's already picking pro-war people. He's already picking anti-worker people. He's already doing the thing that I didn't think he would do. Are they going to do that? No. They're not going to do that. As much as, independent media suck themselves off and act like they were special, they weren't special. None of these people were special. They're subject to the exact same malincentives as mainstream media. And in this case, I think it's fair to say these podcasts are worse than mainstream media, because at least with mainstream media, you get some adversarial questions of these politicians running for office. Whereas in the independent media space, it's nothing but hand jobs to whoever comes on, hot stone massages, and eventually endorsing them and helping them win the presidency. So don't expect the record to be corrected, but this is the closest you're ever going to get to Joe Rogan admitting that Trump lied to his face for 3 hours straight and lied about the election was rigged. Oh, really? Look at that. You won this election. It's almost like it wasn't rigged last time. But don't expect Rogan to hold that lie against Trump in the same way that he holds the Democratic lies against them.
So I think Kyle Kulinski does a good job of highlighting the hypocrisy. It's not even hypocrisy as much as it's this kind of head scratching. Like, I love that he showed the clips of Joe Rogan being more progressive and having Bernie on and talking about some of that is also populism. You know, I like to ruminate that if Bernie Sanders had run against Donald Trump in 2016, that Bernie would have won in a landslide, because there is a lot of the same messaging that Trump does. I don't think that there's any policy behind it to back it up, is about, fighting for the working person and, making lives a little bit easier for Americans and healthcare and all of the good stuff that even Joe Rogan himself was saying in those clips. But Bernie actually would put his money where his mouth is and believes in a democratic socialist model. Socialism becoming a dirty word. I don't think he's talking about socialism like you've seen in different parts of Europe, and certainly not it's compared to Nazi socialism, right? That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about Medicare for all. We're talking about maybe improvements to education and free, at least college, community college for everybody who wants it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's why we're progressives, right? And why we're fighting for this stuff. It's humane. It's what makes living in America unique. And this idea of the greatest country in the world is one that really leads boldly forward, right? With, fighting to make lives better, not just for all Americans, but make the world a better place. And I know that sounds corny. Anyway, I want to hear what your thoughts are in the comment sections below. I mean, do you agree with everything that Kyle Kulinski says? Is there anything that Kyle Kulinski asserted here that you maybe don't disagree with? And also, what are your thoughts about Joe Rogan? Because I get that he is an entertaining showman. I have watched his show. There have been some entertaining interviews. He's a charismatic character. It is crazy feeling to see someone drift so far to the right and abandon all reason to get seduced by this kind of, this is it, guys, we have to do this or else we're going to lose our country. Right? Up is down, black is white. It's a flim-flam. And for those of us who haven't fallen subject to it, it's absolutely crazy making. Anyway, chime in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts.